Hello, I'm Ray Warren from Channel 9. In the gladiatorial game of rugby league, Hazim El Masri is one of the real gentlemen of the code. In 41 years of sports commentating, I've seen a lot of footballers come and go. But I have no doubts Hazim El Masri will leave a lasting impression on rugby league, as he will on Australia. He's the man we call El Magic.
Get out! Come on!
When I'm on a horse, it's a great feeling. It's a great adrenaline rush.
Yeah!
It's sort of a communication between you and the horse.
Get out!
You get some stubborn horses sometimes, but you know, you got to take control, get on that horse, and it's a challenge. It's pretty much a challenge that you want to accomplish. I've always loved horses and or animals in general, so whether it's a cow or a dog or horses and that. So back in Lebanon, I probably didn't have the chance to have any pets or anything like that. But in Australia, you go out and you can enjoy these little things.
It rekindles those images that we have in our head about our ancestors, that Arabic tradition. And it's quite a special feeling to be engaging in activity that our ancestors were so good at.
Let's go!
And people tend to forget that when it came to horsemanship, when it came to poetry and chivalry, the Arabs were legendary for all that. And it's just something that we want to continue.
My time is very hectic during the season, so I try to go when we got some time off in pretty much the off season when there's no footy.
He's got it away! It has got the goal! El Magic wins the game for Canterbury.
He's ultra competitive and ultra dedicated. He's the most fiercely competitive person I've ever met in my life. He takes a lot of pride in being the best at what he does. And from where he was to what he's come to is just phenomenal.
But the game will be remembered for Hazim El Masri's goal kicking, passing Daryl Halligan's Australian record of 31 in succession.
It's a story that I thought was one of the most remarkable I'd ever come across in the world of sport. There's this young kid on the war-ravaged streets of Tripoli in Lebanon who transplants himself to Australia. He then decided to take up a sport that was also completely foreign to him, and a culture within that sport that was completely foreign to not only the culture that he came from, but his personal beliefs in many cases. And goes on to become the greatest goal kicker in rugby league history and plays at the highest level of the sport. Can't believe it.
Today's bomb outrage was in a predominantly Muslim quarter of the city.
I grew up in Tripoli, Lebanon. At the time, there was plenty of war going around and never knew who or why they were fighting.
Caught in the middle, a convoy of French military vehicles.
5, 6 or 7, and I remember waking up at night and, all these sort of loud bombs and all that going around, so it was a very scary time.
There was no escape and considerable panic.
I prayed night and day for God that I'd be able to sort of keep, my brothers and sisters and my parents sort of alive for us to care.
There are over 10,000 PLO fighters still in Tripoli, openly patrolling the streets with their guns.
Family was what basically held everything together, because that was the little case of protection in which he lived. All the violence around him, that was the cocoon. His father would often go out late at night, say 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, to get food, because that was the only safe time that bakeries, among other shops, could open. Hazim's father would lead him to the bakery in what must have been frightening circumstances in order for self-preservation, because during the day there'd be shelling and indiscriminate gunfire.
Playing soccer there was pretty tough as well. I mean, it's actually a building site that they used to just mark out with chalk and all that, and they put up a couple of posts, and that was our home ground. I just wanted to go out there and enjoy it, forget about what's happening around me. you forget about that until sort of the game is over and you're like back to reality again.
Hazim's father had been thinking for some time that this was just crazy. I can't bring up a family in these circumstances. I can't live like this. And then they started making plans to move to Australia.